Folks, it's fair season, and today's deep dive conversation isn't really about elephant ears and Ferris wheels and 1,500-pound pumpkins. It's about people. Welcome to the Daily Download. I'm Travis Fain, and I'm talking today with Chad Flowers, a photojournalist here at WRAL for 30 years. And for just about every one of those years, Chad has covered the North Carolina State Fair. Chad, welcome, man.
Thank you. And it probably won't be much of a deep dive with this one.
I feel like we're gonna get down into it. Because I love fair stories more than I love the fair. Does that make sense?
That's true. Fair stories are always good.
And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And so as a jumping off point, when I say 30 years covering the fair, what's the first thing, or maybe better yet, the first person that pops into your mind?
I mean, there's so many people that pop in my mind, but I mean, you have to, when you see the fair, a lot of people wouldn't remember him, but Jim Graham. Jim Graham is the thing that pops into my mind when I hear the fair. Or food, something fried. That's the thing that pops in my mind. But Jim Graham is a staple of the fair forever.
Tell me more about him.
Well, he was a larger than life character. He had, he smoked cigars and he wore a fedora hat and he rode around on a golf cart and he was 90 years old, and he was just a classic old Southern gentleman, and he was the commissioner of agriculture.
Okay. When was this?
This was he was in the 80s and 90s. I think he retired in the late 90s, I believe. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was nothing to see him riding around on a golf cart out at the fairgrounds, and now we have Commissioner Troxler and for folks that don't know, the state fair is, I guess it's fair to say, put on by or kind of organized by the agricultural commission, the state. Correct. It's run. It's all handled under the umbrella of North Carolina Department of Agriculture, and so the commissioner of agriculture is essentially the CEO of the North Carolina State Fair.
Yeah, I guess you can't go wrong with a cigar chomping, fedora wearing.
Yeah, he was a classic guy, and he was known throughout state government. He was just a larger than life guy, and he was always the main guy at the fair. So
yeah, what about carnival workers? Have you gotten to where you recognize people who don't live here?
Oh yeah. I see people every year at the fair that I see one time per year, and that's at the fair. So I see carnival workers. You see some of the same ones come back year after year, and it's kind of like a little annual family reunion because you don't see these people year round except for the 1 week the 10 days the fair's here.
You have much understanding of that lifestyle, about why people choose to do that, to pack up a ride and drive it across country. You kind of live that. It's almost a gypsy lifestyle.
It is a gypsy lifestyle. I don't understand it, but it would probably be fun for a couple months.
Right.
I would not enjoy it for a lifetime, but some people don't like to be held down. They don't like to stay in the same place, and it's a fairly, fun life, I would assume, but it wouldn't work for me, but it does work for them.
Can you think of somebody that left an impression on you? One of these kind of traveling workers?
There's, every year we do stories on the fair workers and the fair attendees and stuff, but there's guys like the racing pig people at the fair, and he retired this year. He's from Western North Carolina, and I've done story after story after story about racing pigs at the fair. But the guy that run the thing, was a super nice guy. And like I said, he's from North Carolina, and he hung his hat up this year. So, yeah, there are people that stand out year after year. And, there used to be the guy who run the Jack's Buns cinnamon roll bun factory. And, he was our favorite friend at the TV station because he brought us hot buns every morning, and we'd put him on TV every year. And so, yeah, there are certain people that stand out as being the annual folks.
How does one get pigs to race?
Well, carrots. sweet potatoes.
But literal carrots. No,
Yes.
we're not speaking metaphors
No,
here.
literal carrots. The pigs know what they're getting at the end. So the pigs run around a little circle, just like NASCAR, and they call them like NASCAR cars, and it's quite entertaining, trust me. But at the end of their run, they get a little treat, and they come back in an hour for the next one.
You know, and that makes me think of something that's kind of quintessentially fair. Is you take something it's kind of ridiculous, but it's fun, and you treat it with a level of seriousness, and then that makes it kind of awesome. Like the pumpkin weigh off, for example.
Yes.
I mean, that's serious business. I mean, you can win $3 a pound, so a $1,500 pumpkin.
And you can sell the seeds for $100 a pop.
That's right.
And there's a couple thousand seeds in a pumpkin.
Yeah,
so.
you were. I think that was last week or earlier this week. I can't remember. But that is a cool little enclave of folks at the fair. Is the people who grow these giant pumpkins, watermelons, gourds, sweet potatoes,
Everything. Anything you can think of growing, somebody's there to grow the biggest one ever. And, it had really fun. There was like 25 or 30 people that were watching the weigh off. It's not a huge draw to the fair, but everybody who goes to the fair walks through and sees the pumpkin, the largest watermelon, the biggest gourd, the 18-pound sweet potato. So there are, it's one of those things that the weigh off is really cool to watch. Because there's a build up, there's a climax.
There's a forklift.
There's a forklift that hauls them around. And, it's one of those where everybody's like, oh my God, will he break the state record? Will he break the national record? Will he break the world record for largest pumpkin? And this year we did break the world record.
These pumpkins can grow 50 pounds a day. I learned that this year.
They're huge.
Yeah.
I mean, they look like morphed me's.
Yeah, and that's no joke about selling the seeds. You can make good money selling it because people want this title.
Yeah, and they think that if I use that person's seed,
right,
then I'll have the biggest pumpkin next year.
Right. What's your favorite thing to cover at the fair? The thing where you're in it. I mean, look, day in, day out, this job gets monotonous, even if it is interesting. What's the thing where you stop and think, you know what, this is pretty cool. It's all right.
I mean, I like there's certain days at the fair that, you have Senior Citizen Day and you have Military Appreciation Day and you have all these other days, Canned Food Day and stuff. And so, I don't know, I've always liked Military Day. It was yesterday. And, they have really cool military bands that come in and play. And everybody is kind of nostalgic of, thanking your servicemen and women. And I don't know, it's just, I like the whole. It feels more patriotic,
right?
On the fair on Military Appreciation Day.
Well, and we're not going to go wrong thanking people who serve
who
like
work,
that,
who work hard.
We're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to come back. I'm asked Chad what the dumbest thing he's seen someone do at the fair is. I will give him time to whittle that list down, I imagine. Welcome back to the Daily Download. We're talking the North Carolina State Fair with Chad Flowers, 30-year photojournalist here at WRAL, and maybe the man we're most likely to send to the fair year in, year out. You figure that's about right?
Yeah, they. I think they think that I'm the most fair-like person here, so they send me out there every year.
Well, I did Google, because that's my main research here. When you Google your name in the fair, a story does come up about you, and I will quote, eating his way down the State Fair Midway in 1997. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. I used to do a little episode called Chowing Down with Chad, and every year we would go to the fair and rate the best fair food. Now, we were probably a little ahead of our time because now everything's the newest, latest, greatest fried event or whatever. But we would just go down and eat turkey legs and funnel cakes and barbecue and anything we could get our hands on. But yes, we had a blast going through food at the fair for years.
What was your favorite thing? Something stick out? 30 years worth of turkey legs here.
I mean, I like all kinds of food and I like fried stuff like everybody else. But honest to goodness, my favorite thing at the fair in all these years is the newest, latest, greatest Peachy's Donuts. And they're right beside Dorton Arena. And they must put like crack in them because they are absolutely the best donut and they're called the donut. So it's like the best donut I've ever had.
Is this a cake donut or more like a glazed?
No, it's a glazed donut. So it's like a Krispy Kreme on steroids. It's like probably 6 to 7 inches in diameter.
Whoa.
And they fry them fresh. They make them fresh. And yesterday, the line to get a donut was probably 100 yards long.
Wow.
People stood in line for probably an hour to get a donut.
Do we want to know what this is fried in?
I don't have a clue, but it is goodness, I can tell you.
I said I was going to ask you about the dumbest thing you've seen someone do at the fair. I mean, what does that make you think of?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of dumb things at the fair. People do a lot of stupid things at the fair. Back in the day, they used to have the cannon guy who shot himself out of a cannon, and he shot himself, I don't know, a couple 100 feet and landed in a net. And I thought he was the dumbest guy. Then they started up the derby, the pound 'em up, shoot 'em up derby, and everybody was running cars into each other.
Wait, is this just basically a demolition derby?
Demolition derby, yes.
Okay.
And so one day I happened to be there on a Saturday, and I was just standing there with a friend of mine and we were watching the derby, and all of a sudden this car gets slammed in the side. The car actually flipped upside down, and the guy was trapped in the car.
Oh boy.
And he got hurt, and I went from being a spectator to then covering this derby guy getting hurt. And so I think of all the years at the fair, the derby guys are probably the dumbest guys I've seen.
There's a boldness to some, like, I mean, what does it take? What's your thought process to get fired out of a cannon into a net the first time?
Right. Yeah, you have to think, is this smart? And most people would say, no, getting shot out of a cannon is not the healthiest thing for one's body.
But it is awesome, and you should do it because
you shouldn't do it, but you should watch some idiot do it.
I will give you $12 to watch you do this.
I will pay you. Well, you're going to pay me $8 to get in the fair to watch me shoot myself out of a cannon.
One of the things I'm amazed about with you, and I know you've been in front of the camera some over the years, enough to be recognized, but you're from Johnston County.
Yes.
You're a local guy, and I'm telling you folks, you don't go anywhere with Chad where he doesn't know, give or take, everybody. Where does that come from? You're an engaging guy. You've been doing this job for years.
Well, you just, you're covering things for years on end. You're seeing sheriff's deputies, and you're seeing judges, and you're seeing city council folks from all these towns and cities throughout our viewing area. And, I'm not one that just sits in the car and waits for the reporter to finish writing what they're going to do, and then I slam it together and we just do a TV story. So while the reporter is working and doing their story, I typically go talk to the sheriff, or I go talk to the deputies, or I go talk to somebody standing out looking at the whatever we're there to shoot. And, you'd strike up a conversation, and the next thing you know, the sheriff says, well, here's my number. If you ever need me, call me.
Right.
And so then the next time you're in that neighborhood, you call the sheriff up and say, hey, I hear a truckload of fish turned over in your street. Can you tell me about it? And so you just build a rapport with people.
And right. And what Chad just described, folks, that is an exceedingly high percentage of journalism right there.
Yes, that is what journalism is. It's meeting people, talking to people, and befriending people to be friendly to people.
I was at the fair. We were together briefly earlier this week, I guess it was. And I'm following the governor because I typically cover state government. He's got a little entourage going down the midway. Someone sees my badge and yells, WRAL. I go over, talk to her. She didn't say nothing about the government. She was like, I know Chad Flowers.
Yes, it is. It is funny that people will throw my name out there like I'm, some rock star, but I'm not a rock star. I'm down on the bottom rung.
I think that's debatable. Let's do a little rapid fire here. We might hit some topics that we've already covered, but let's do it anyway. Favorite fair food?
Peachy's Donuts.
All right, number 2 fair food. I messed up the question.
Number 2 fair food. I would probably say a funnel cake or
That's a classic.
fried dough. I mean, you can't go wrong with fried anything. But yeah, funnel cake, fried dough.
Favorite ride?
I'm not a big ride person, but I would probably say I'm the classic fair flyer, the little lift that goes above the fairground, so I can see everything.
Yeah, it's like a ski lift, but it just goes over the fair, and you can see all the people.
And it's just a great overview of the fair. It's fun to ride down ride it tonight when the sun's setting. You can see everybody. The lights are shining. It's just a great ride.
What you got a favorite game?
I love to play the goldfish game, where you throw the little balls into the goldfish bowl, and you get to carry home a goldfish. But
what do you just carry a goldfish for the rest of the day?
You'll see people out there just carrying around bags of goldfish. There's one goldfish in a bag. I'm sure it doesn't last 10 minutes. Poor goldfish probably didn't make it home, but it's a fun game because everybody's throwing balls and balls are bouncing everywhere. It's fun to play.
What's the biggest scam game at the fair?
I think the biggest scam game is the basketball toss. So you're throwing this basketball, and if you look at the basketball goal front on, the basketball goal looks normal. But if you look at it at a side view, the basketball goal is literally squished down to where the ball literally has to hit it perfectly to go in. So you're not going to win that probably.
Best time to go to the fair with kids, and I will caveat this because I mean, when you're covering the fair, you kind of get to park a little different place. It's a little bit easier to get in and out. But I mean, advice.
If you're going to the fair with kids, I would say go early. You're going to be there during the day. Put on your sunscreen, walk around, and enjoy it. It's not that busy during the week. If you got kids that are in school, obviously you probably won't go during the week. So anytime in the mornings is normally less busy than afternoons, and nights are crazy. So definitely stay away from the fair on the weekend nights if you got a bunch of kids.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate sunscreen and throw in advice for a wide-brimmed hat.
Yes, you don't want to get cooked out there because there's no shade.
Best time to go to the fair without kids?
That would be a Friday or Saturday night because there are literally 100,000 people there, and it is packed. You can people watch. It is a good time to sit down on the bench and just watch people walk by.
All right, we're going to wrap this up, but I am going to ask one more question, the question that we reporters often ask at the end of interview. Anything I didn't ask about that will just unlock some awesomeness here?
Just be nice to people, go meet people, and have a good plate of food with them. And at the end of the day, you got a new friend.
That's good advice. Folks, thanks for listening to the WRAL Daily Download, the State Fair. Obviously not the only game in town. If you want to hear about more things to do, places to visit, restaurants to enjoy in North Carolina, check out WRAL Out and About. It's a weekly podcast from WRAL News. You can find that in your podcast app. Search for WRAL Out and About. Thank you to Chad Flowers, and thank you, folks at home, for your attention.